Father Groppi had everything to lose and nothing to gain. Coming out of the blocks in the race to have Firehouse. And I heard a radio program at that time. WAWA was the AM radio, and the noted disc jockey at the time was O.C. White. And as I drove home from work at the end of the day, he caught my attention from the way he described what was going on in the courtroom. And what he essentially said, he says, I was down at the courthouse today, and he says, I witnessed, he said, old people, young people, children. He said, all kind of people down there. If you got any money, take it to St. Boniface. They need money for bail. And so I immediately redirected myself to go to St. Boniface. When I reached the St. Boniface church, I went into the side entrance and I met a young man named Dwight Benning, who was the captain of the Commando unit at that time. And so I said, here, in the 60s, $20 was a lot. I gave him a $20 bill. I mean, I was that much into it already. And I went to walk away, and I got downstairs and something dawned on me. So, you got to do more than that. So I went back, and I said, hey, can I help you guys? And he said, sure. And then from that point, I was introduced to Father Groppi, and I was made welcome. I was made welcome by everybody. And that's the beginning of my introduction to the Commandos, Youth Council Commandos, NAACP Youth Council Commandos, and Father Groppi. The world should know that we were just one big family, and we shared. We shared the heartaches, the pain. We shared the food. We shared the love. We shared the concern. So it was always one big family, no matter where we traveled at. It was one big family. And in traveling, we would always meet with people who was opposition to a white man out front leading black people. Sometimes we would get down on the floor and do strategy plans. Everybody was equal. So the man that you saw that was projected as a leader was just one of the guys, just one of the guys. He always put himself as one of the guys doing strategy, and he was a great strategist, and so were we. We had a good relationship. If I had to go out of town, he gave me with the youth council to take them to a youth council jamboree in Indiana, or to take them over to Chicago to sing in the evening. He let me have, he said, Fred, take my credit card, get your gas, we had a relationship. You understand what I mean? So it was good. Everybody had ups and downs. We had our ups and downs, but we were more up than we were down, We maintained buoyancy, and that's what kept the movement afloat. Everybody maintained buoyancy. The king called about a week and a half earlier before the assassination. I was in the rectory. Myself, Fred Bronson, and Curly, who's dead now. He got burned up in a house fire in Mississippi under circumstances. I answered the phone. I spoke with Dr. King. What Dr. King really wanted was, you tell me where you want me to go with this when I tell you this. Okay? What he really wanted was some commandos to come down there and stand with him during this crisis with the garbage strike. in his words, I fear violence. You understand me? And I want you guys to come down. I want to speak to Father Groppi about this. Is he around? So we sent for Father Groppi. Father Groppi came. He called him back. And they referred to each other as Reverend. Yeah, Reverend. And Dr. King said, well, sure wish I had some commandos with me, because I really I fear violence. And so he said, well, I can hear the old time phones. You could hear everything, because when they're talking loud, and I could hear. So I'm sitting right next to him. King offered to come up here and help him. She said, well, that's all right, Father Groppi. I said, well, that's all right. He said, no, you got your thing and we got ours. We won't need any help, Reverend. And he said, well, okay, if you need me. That's what King said. And it was put to a vote whether we should go or not, because we've had things going simultaneously, as Dr. King had things going simultaneously. And so Father said, I call you back. Now I'm present during the whole thing. He goes back and he puts it before the youth council. The youth council they have to vote, because we had strict NAACP bylaws. Commandos had none. They had rules and regulations of their own that they execute. But if there's any money or expenditures that's coming out of it, the youth council would have to vote. So youth council, being young kids and everything, they was all excited about what they got going. So at that time, they voted not to go. The Commando on their own voted to go, but they had to raise the money. By the time they raised the money, the man was dead. I dubbed him as a Pied Piper. So, when he opened his mouth, people tuned in to hear what he had to say. And wherever he traveled, wherever he stepped, there were people always following him. He was a man with a mission. He could go, even though as self-contained as he was in his behavior, if you had something to do with any hindrance of that movement or any hindrance of those kids, he would go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. I can remember him saying in the church, the story about the lie, and how America always say, oh, that's a black lie, but never would say anything about the little white lie. And he went on to say, a lie is a lie is a lie. So he called the shots like it is. So what I remember about him is that he was determined, he was a man on a mission, people listened, people supported him, and he took no prisoners if he had to, and he was willing to fall on the sword. And that he did during that period, that tumultuous period. I want to say that I enjoy being a member of the family of such a movement. And I want to give recognition to those who are no longer with us, that I think about from time to time when I look back in retrospect, those fine leaders who are now no longer with us. And had it not been for the program on the radio, I would not have gotten that opportunity. And I'm proud to have served in the best capacity that I could.